Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Welcome to our Thursday show, folks. Seth Udinsky, Sam Casten, your host, Mark Manila. Mark, ready for another show, brother? Excited to have you.
Welcome, everybody. Let's dig in.
Let's have some fun. Join us, folks. 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you. A lot of things to discuss today. The fight for life continues. We're seeing retribution from the evils of the Biden administration. If we have time later, we'll discuss that. Very excited to see this. I think this is a really good thing. Speaking of good things, guys, Matt Armstrong of Crossroads Kids Club will join us shortly to talk about how Crossroads continues to meet the needs and meet the children in public schools with the gospel. Amazing work that they're doing. So we'll have him on shortly. First and foremost, though, guys, inflation was apparently a bit cooler than expected. Sam, give us the details here. What's going on?
Much to the chagrin of the mainstream media, right, Seth?
Oh,
because
darn.
They were absolutely shocked to read their own headlines, finding that inflation rose half as much as expected in March, despite their constant panic over the war in Iran.
On, then? No.
I know.
Wait a minute. They projected based on, hatefulness for Trump. That's right.
Right.
How could that go wrong?
And now they're probably hateful that they were wrong, too, which just increases their hate. It's just a big ball of hate.
Yeah, so I need a little help with this math here. Gentlemen, how far behind is the mainstream media from financial issues? Because we've been saying since, last October, how Trump has this together, how the economy's coming together, how all this is happening, how inflation is under control and coming down. And yet the media has been saying all along, well, we're looking at that somewhere in the next few months, it's going to be through the ceiling. They've been wrong all along. And now all of a sudden, after 6 months, they're finally getting on board. Does that mean we're 6 months ahead of all mainstream media, all corporate media?
I doubt it, because they're just going to repeat this same dog and pony show next month as well. Mark, you always say you don't have a crystal ball. I think the problem is they pretend to have a crystal ball. So let's look at this data here. So according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, wholesale inflation rose 0.5% last month, much lower than the predicted number, which was 1.1% of an increase. By the way, that wholesale number, that does include energy, which is the big thing that has been rising recently due to the war. Meanwhile, core inflation, that number that excludes food and energy, rose just 0.2% for the month. Also, that number was below forecasts of 0.4%. So I have a feeling, Mark, that this is boosting your already pretty strong feelings about the economy's resilience.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And from my perspective, and from our perspective, this isn't surprising. It wasn't surprising at all. What was surprising is how often the broader narrative has missed what is actually happening here with our economy, especially if you pile on all the ugliness that has been piled on since the beginning of the year. And we still had a strong economy. Actually, at the beginning of the year, we actually had a downturn in the deficit spending. I don't know if that's still true or not. We'll wait for a few new numbers on that. But it's just mainstream media misses it. If you just look at the numbers, it really all comes together. And we're looking at the wrong numbers. That's why I emphasize real wage growth over and over again. Because inflation being inflation as it is, which is manufactured primarily by central banks. A lot of people don't know that, but there's inflation that is the 2% to 4% inflation is manufactured by the central banks, by how much they print, how much money they put into the economy, so that you have more dollars chasing fewer goods. If you look at all that, when real wage growth is there, what it's actually saying is that people are making more money than what the central banks can manufacture in inflation. And that's a good sign. That shows a resilience, power, strength of just the economy itself. And as the administration has been building infrastructure and preparing things. I think the possibility of a greater economy is very high in the near future here, from midsummer especially.
Now, Mark, the number that the mainstream media is hanging on to try to put a damper on this whole thing is the year-over-year PPI. That's at 4% right now. So does that actually put a damper on anything or not?
Yeah, it does a little bit. PPI is, again, just another number, and it's more of a survey than it is a fact, but still, it's very important. And it makes sense, but it is affected very clearly by energy in the short term. So if energy is highly volatile, which it is now and will be until we get the Strait of Hormuz straighten out.
Why do they call it
like that?
I have a question for both of you. Why do they call it Strait of Hormuz when it's really a curve?
I know it has to bend around the UAE. It doesn't make sense.
I would just like to blame the Iranians for that one, and we can just put that one on them.
Okay. We'll let it go at that. Right. Sorry, people. Sometimes we get silly here.
We just like to apologize to absolutely no one for our silliness. Okay,
but for investors, don't get overconfident in the economy. Anything can throw it off. We still have incredible debt that we need to get under control. When we're at $39 trillion in debt minimal right now, we still have a deficit. We haven't even got that under control. You can't start reducing the debt until you get the deficit under control. So we really have a lot of work to do to make this a rock solid economy. So we approach as an investor, we will approach the markets as we always do, as a jungle that is there full of lions and tigers and bears that are there to try to eat you alive and take whatever you have from you and put it into their coffers in their pockets. So we move into this jungle realizing that maybe somebody has carved a path for us, but it hasn't been paved yet. So it's going to be step by step, the foundations we're going to walk on into the future, into these markets. Again, looking at financial issues, steel on every single thing we have. If they don't have the steel and they have incredible potential, we still might go into that, but we're going to do it with caution, especially during times when we don't know where the economy really is going to go, even though the economy has potential too. So awake, aware, conscious, we're being stewards, not day traders. We're being stewards. We're not putting our hope in the markets. We're putting our faith in God and investing his assets to his glory. And in doing so, he takes care of us.
Love it. You know, Mark, I think there's one appropriate response to approaching the lions, tigers, and bears in the markets, and it's, oh my.
Right. I know. Mark is the jungle version of a Sherpa. I don't know what that would be, but he does that for your finances.
We're not in Exton anymore.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mark, you are not an Exton, actually. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Good stuff. 610-363-1110. Guys, in some other news here, looks like Sandisk is now, at least trying to, or maybe is going to be joining the Nasdaq 100. Sam, give us the details there. What's going on?
Oh, it's happening, Sam.
It's happening.
This was the official announcement
of
the Nasdaq announcing that starting April 20th, Sandisk will join the Nasdaq 100, placing the company, I think it's called Atlassian Corporation. So this opens up a whole lot of questions, Mark. First, what is the Nasdaq 100?
Well, the Nasdaq 100 is an index that is drawn from the Nasdaq exchange. Just like the New York Stock Exchange, the Nasdaq is an exchange where companies list their stocks to be traded. Now, the Nasdaq has about 3,400 listed companies on it. It's a fully electronic exchange, unlike the New York Stock Exchange, which is both electronic and also has traders on the floor. What they do is they take the top 100, the largest stocks, not only the largest, but mostly the largest non-financial stocks that are on the Nasdaq exchange out of that 3,400, and that makes up the index. Did that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, really good. Mark, what does it say about Sandisk as a stock? Obviously, recently it's been doing really well.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things about being listed in an index is it gives a lot of focus on that stock, but it recognizes it. It just doesn't get put on there and then it develops these attributes. It develops the attributes of size and impact and influence on its own, and then it's brought into the indexes. And here's what's really interesting. When a stock goes onto an index, all of a sudden, all those index ETFs have to buy that stock into it. So in the short term, that gives that stock a bump.
Makes sense. Good stuff, Mark. Thank you for that. 610-363-1110.
Yeah, and it's really important to remember that it's just a bump. It's not a long-term. It doesn't mean it's going to be long-term.
It's a sugar high.
Yep.
There you go. It's a sugar high, which I believe you and me and Seth all have this morning, or at least a caffeine high from our coffee. Hopefully you can get a cup of coffee and join us. 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110.
Most people.
Every day, kids all across America are coming to school with some kind of hidden pain.
I've seen kids come in who are just so confused about what's right and what's wrong, just having no idea that God loves them. And this just breaks my heart. Crossroads has the opportunity to bring the Word of God right into the public school, to reach children right where they are.
And when we see that happen, we see God changing lives.
We want to see kids not only come to Christ, but pursue a lifelong relationship with Him. And so local churches are uniquely positioned to disciple those children as they become young adults and through their lifespan.
Crossroads comes alongside a church and provides that church with a club structure, curriculum, training, and ongoing coaching for them to run these outreaches in public schools.
If you are burdened for the children of America, consider making a donation to Crossroads Kids Club. For more information, visit reachOurschools.com. That's reachOurschools.com.
Fear and uncertainty can cause us to hold things tightly and rely on ourselves. But during uncertain times, as believers in Christ, we are called to surrender fully to our sovereign God. Learn a biblically responsible investment strategy proven over 25 years. Keep the money God has entrusted to you out of companies that participate in things that God detests. Fully surrender. Become a Financial Issues Partners today.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant. My family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She offered to get me an ultrasound. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep him.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Great to be here, folks. Boy, Mark, I'm so excited for this interview for two reasons. One, I love Jesus Christ, and two, I love bringing the gospel to children, and I think all Christians should. And this next interview is all about that with our friends at Crossroads Kids Club. Pretty awesome stuff.
Absolutely, and we're so glad to have you with us, Matt Armstrong, CEO of Crossroads Kids Clubs. Man, you made it a tongue twister, didn't you, Matt?
Not intentionally, Mark. It's great to be with you and you, Seth. Always good.
Likewise, brother.
Yeah, it's good to have you with us. Listen, there's so many great things about what you're doing. I mean, reaching out to kids instead of trying to get them to come into the churches, working through churches to reach out to kids in public schools, giving them the gospel, helping them learn what it really means to be a mature person in Christ. There's so many good things that go on. But you know what we've really never talked about in depth, and that's what happens after elementary school for these kids who had the Crossroads Kids Club and no longer have it.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Just before I get to that, I want to say thank you to all the Financial Issues partners who participated last month. As you know, we had that Easter card campaign.
Yes.
And we just had an outpouring of response of people writing Easter messages to children in schools. I got to be personally involved in delivering some of those cards to a school in Florida, and just seeing those kids' faces light up when they got those messages. So just want to, before we dive into that question, say thank you so much to everybody who participated in that. That was a wonderful thing.
Matt,
really brightened some kids' days.
I don't mean to derail our conversation here, but I did just want to ask you, what was that like? Getting those cards. Yeah, I'm basically the guy who comes in and just derails everything. What was it like to kind of see those kids receive those cards, and I think it'd be great for our listeners to just hear that, since they weren't actually able to see it.
Yeah, well, good. Well, so a few things. First of all, the kids weren't expecting anything, right? And so it was the week before Easter, and so just like, hey, we have a Easter card for you that somebody who cares about you wrote for you, and they were like, oh, really? So there's just kind of surprise and a little bit of excitement around that. And then when we handed out the cards and they opened it up, they read the message. And what we saw was just smiles and kids sharing their message with other kids. Oh, what did you get? I got that. And so they were just a lot of excitement and enthusiasim to get a joy, I would say, is what we saw.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was kind of fun visiting that club where we, we're visiting in Florida, based in Illinois, and my wife was there with me, and she doesn't always come to clubs, and she got to see, and I know she's just like, wow, that was really a cool thing. I was so excited to see how those kids were so overjoyed to receive those cards. So it was just, it was cool. It was a joyful moment.
Well, praise God. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And with that said, again, let's go back to our original question, because I know you have a thing called Joshua Project. No, that's okay.
My fault, Matt.
But we do.
So explain the Joshua Project.
Yes, I will. I'm going to actually give you a little bit of a circuitous answer first. So a lot of times people wonder how we work in public schools. And so Crossroads is in a lane that uses community use of school facilities, which means that basically a church can be a community user and have access to the space after hours. And that's how we get into the schools to do Crossroads clubs. Now, when you get up into middle school and high school level, often the best way to reach a school is through student-led clubs under the Equal Access Act of 1984. So a specific challenge, though, is that middle school kids in particular are not often mature enough or equipped enough to become dynamic student leaders and lead their peers in Bible study or lead them to Christ. So what we decided to do at Crossroads, being an elementary-focused ministry, is to think, what if we could equip those children who were in their last year or two with us, which is typically 5th grade or 6th grade, so that we give them a longer runway to become student leaders when they get into middle school and reach their friends for Christ. And so that's what Joshua Project is all about, is how do we take these kids and really make them disciples who are making disciples? And so they have 5 things that they're working on. So we have the Pray 5 challenge, which is first we just talk to them about, hey, identify 5 of your friends who don't yet know the Lord and start praying for them every day. Number 2 is Share 5. Can they get in 5 spiritual conversations with their peers? Give 5. Can they give away 5 copies of the scripture in their school, right? Anyway, then it moves on to leading a Bible study. So right now we have a 6th grade girl, maybe 1 mile, 2 miles from where I'm seated, who is initiating a Bible study at lunchtime in her elementary school as a 6th grader, right? And so what we're finding is these elementary kids can actually be trained up and discipled where they're reaching their peers, and they're so well positioned to be leaders in middle school and high school. So that's what Joshua Project's all about.
That's awesome, actually. I'm listening to you go through how you're training them up, and it makes total sense. You're teaching them to mentor and to evangelize, and as such, teaching them to be a leader at the same time. That's incredible. That's really powerful. Well, I'd like to go back to...
And so then...
I'd like to go back to how the churches are involved in this, because oftentimes when I'm talking with somebody, they may say they've heard of Crossroads, but they don't understand. They think it's an organization that they themselves are going into the school. So I'd like some clarity on that.
Yeah, right. So the idea here is that if we hired a staff person who was going to go lead a club, right, then we can multiply 1 by 1 by 1 by addition, in other words, right? But if instead Crossroads can hire a staff person who mobilizes, equips, coaches, supports a local church, that person can probably go out and start 10 clubs, or more from one person. So we really have a model that's leveraged. Across the nation, too, there are about 3 churches at least for every public elementary school. There's 52,000 something public elementary schools. So it gives us an opportunity to build something at scale, to build something that's efficient and leveraged. So what Crossroads does is really a lot of coaching, consulting, support. We're subject matter experts in the legality of how we would build a relationship that's legal and helpful with the school. We produce curriculum, we produce training, and then we have field staff who are there just to walk alongside and coach and support, help recruit leaders, all of those things, everything a local church would need to have a thriving ministry. But the other thing about local churches, right, is that they are there to continue discipling these kids for life, which goes back to your first question.
Yes.
So not only do we want to equip them for middle school, but the church there is inviting these kids and their families into that church, oftentimes with great effect and results. So we see kids then getting baptized. We see parents getting baptized. We see families who are choosing to follow Christ. So it's not uncommon, in fact, very frequent that we hear testimony like, we didn't used to go to church as a family, and now we go every week, because all these clubs are church-based.
Yeah, and that's so positive. And the strong thing about this, I was involved several times in planting churches, and I know how hard it is as a church to reach out to the community, to do outreach, to go and share the gospel and let people know about your church. And I know how with the smaller churches, with the church plants, you don't have dozens of people just looking for something to do like you do mega churches or whatnot. So, but this isn't just for mega churches. And the other thing about the small church is that the costs, there's not a lot of money in small churches. So is this just for mega churches who have endless money and endless volunteers, or is it also for small churches?
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, absolutely. Churches of all sizes and budgets, Mark. So first of all, Crossroads provides our services, curriculum, everything at no cost to the churches because we're a donor-funded ministry. So that's why it's so
we got to stop there.
Impactful that
we got to stop it right there and say that again, very slowly, at no cost.
Okay, Crossroads is donor-funded, so we trust the Lord to use generous Christians. We don't take any government funding. We don't ask the churches to contribute anything because, again, we don't want to put any barrier to the gospel going forth. Of course, we're not asking parents or families. We want to give the gospel away freely, so we trust God's people to provide to do that. Now, the second thing is we develop our own curriculum, and we do so in a way that it would use just minimal materials. So that the on-site expenses would be very low. Many school districts are free or low rent. Again, our regional coordinators, if a church really has significant constraints in budget, will help guide them toward a district where there's no charge to be there, and find ways to make it extremely accessible. 5 people is all it takes to get started. So we've had from house church to mega church be involved.
So what I'm hearing here makes me think, my guess is, Matt, you have a full-time staff just answering phones because the churches are lining up to get involved with you, right? Because this is such an incredible thing. Getting the gospel out in the public schools where all the children are, doing it at no direct cost, no charge to the churches, and with very little, like 5 people needed to get started. It seems like every church in America has to be lined up at your door right now.
I wish that were the case. It's not quite that easy. So our staff does need to go out and shake the trees a little bit. And you know what it is, Mark, I think, is that what we're doing here is not a product. It's about a relationship over time. We want to come alongside the churches and walk with them. And so those things just it takes time to build trust. It takes time to build relationship. It takes staff in the field who are going to build those relationships.
If somebody,
a lot of people come to churches with a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, in the last minute we have left here, if somebody is in a church, small or large, and wants to get involved with Crossroads or find out more, how do they do that?
Yeah, you send me an email and I'll point you in the right direction. Matt, MATT.Armstrong at CrossroadsKidsClub.com.
Matt.Armstrong at CrossroadsKidsClub.com. And you have a website, I guess?
We do, CrossroadsKidsClub.com. You can also go to ReachOurSchools.com if the Lord's prompting you to invest in this ministry financially. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being here today and helping us to understand how incredible a ministry you truly have. We are so thankful for being involved with you. And by the way, we have some meetings coming up here in St. Louis with a couple of churches to introduce Kids Club to those churches here. So very excited. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Matt.
Mark. Appreciate you. Appreciate our partnership. God bless you guys.
God bless you. This is such an important ministry that we have to let you know. The church you're in, you might want to bring this up to your pastor or to the elders or deacons in your church and let them know how incredible an opportunity this is, not only to reach the children with the gospel, but to help you grow your church in doing so. And also another opportunity is to have your questions answered here on Financial Issues, 610-363-1110. Give us a call. Let's talk.
As a member of Samaritan Ministries, your monthly share is a gift that goes directly to a real person in need. While that share takes care of the financial portion of a need, medical needs are complex and include the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects as well. While the financial gift is important, if we stop there, we miss an opportunity to minister to the whole need of our brother or sister. When you faithfully pray and send a note of encouragement and scripture along with your share, those words become a vessel of God's continued healing and blessing on the receiver. And the impact it has is immeasurable, bringing glory to God and provision and unity to His church. Glorify God with your health care. Send a note this month.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant, and my family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She told me about all the great resources, like they offer free baby clothes, they offer free classes, stuff for her mom. She prayed with me. She told me to ask God to, guide me to my decision. She made it completely like my choice. She offered to get me an ultrasound, and I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat of my son, and I was sold. Whatever I gotta do, whatever comes my way, I'm just gonna, have this baby. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep on.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Boy, Mark, Mark, I'm always encouraged when Matt comes on the show and you guys talk about Crossroads, and it gives me hope for the next generation and hope for public schools also. Really cool stuff. ReachOurSchools.com, folks, is where you can learn more about Crossroads Kids Club. Just love the work that they do. Really, really cool. 610-363-1110. Let's hear from you, folks. We'd love to talk with you. The markets yesterday, guys, continued to move forward. They were a little mixed, but for the most part, it was another good day. Confidence overall. The S&P 500 hit an all-time high yesterday, back in that area. It was up in that range before the war and then dipped down, and now it's back up again. So the Dow Jones was the lone loser, but it wasn't much. S&P and the Nasdaq both did really well yesterday. Pre-markets this morning were feeling pretty good, and it looks like they've opened all in positive territory. So that means a new record for the S&P 500, Mark, which is fun. So and the
unfortunately, oil opened up a little bit as well.
Well,
not much, 90 cents, but you know.
Yep, absolutely. So there's still, you know, it's not certain if there's going to be a peaceful resolution to this Iran conflict as we try to understand what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz, which is not so straight, as you said, Mark, a little more curvy. But that's kind of how that goes. 610-363-1110. Mark, how about a question here from Maritza? She's 75 years old. She's saying, hey, Mark, VLGEA is the only consumer staple I own, and I would like your help in deciding what to do. Should I add more, or should I buy Casey? They're both retail food stores. What do you think, Mark?
Interesting question. Is that the only two choices? I don't think so. Have you gone back into the Partners Hub and looked at the broad list and the buy list and looked at what's out there regarding consumer staples? Because there are a lot out there.
You know, Mark, my guess would be, I think she's wondering because these are both relatively new buys, and she's probably thinking, might be time to get into these.
Exactly. And that's what I was thinking she was thinking. That's what I was thinking that you were thinking that she was thinking.
We're just a bunch of mind readers here.
Makes perfect sense.
But with that said, I think it's a good idea to have both in your portfolio. If VLGEA isn't, if they're not at the point where your initial investment, you normally want like 2%, between 1% and 3%, depending on how you manage your portfolio, then it's okay to add more to it. But I'd also add Casey. Now, the thing with Casey is it is not one of those stocks that is going to go through the ceiling like a tech stock. This is a slow and steady climb. It's going to take a step up and it'll take a half step back. It'll take another step up, and you'll see it over time growing, and it'll be a nice steady growth. It won't be a 50 and 100% return in a month. It'll just be, 1 to 3%, something like that. As they grow throughout the U.S. Remember, this is a Midwest company that now is opening up in the South and the Southeast. So there's lots of room for it to grow, and they've done well at doing so. So Casey might be one of those stalwarts that you buy and you say you just forget about it for the next 5 to 10 years. And then VLGEA, you might want to be a little more watchful on that, a little more volatile, but it's still a good stock. And then look at for other consumer staples as well, and make sure you're staying diversified. I love your question. Thank you for writing it in.
Yeah, Mark, I got two comments from this. One is a serious one is not so serious. The serious one is, I think for Maritza, this is great. You get some diversification if you have both. Say she only has one of them. Now you got two. Now you've got some diversification within that sector there.
And that's stewardship.
Exactly. And my not so serious comment is, how can you pass up Midwestern pizza? That's all I have to say. Delicious.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know.
Exactly right.
Casey's is the #1 pizza restaurant in the world. In the United States.
Mark, I'm such a Yankee, I've never even heard of it until you first brought it on the buy list, and now I really want to go to one.
Yeah,
it's just another gas station with a food court in it, but they do well at what they do.
Nothing says Americana quite like gas station pizza.
Hey, we love our Wawa here in the Midwest. They love their Casey's. It's a loyalty thing.
Make fun of Casey's and you go to a place called Wawa.
That's right. Wawa.
I'm not making fun of it. I understand the loyalty.
610-363-1110. Great question, Maritza. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Mark, next one we have is Linda. She's 63. She says, I opened a Roth at Fidelity with the $8,600 yearly contribution. She said, I wanted to invest in Timothy funds, but the $2,500 minimum investment for each one at Fidelity might have turned her off to it. So she said, should I split my Roth between Fidelity and Timothy plans so I can be able to allocate to more Timothy funds at Timothy plan and leave a portion at Fidelity for investing in a Timothy plan ETF or a stock or two there? I'm just trying to get started with the growth fund model with this amount of money. What would you have for Linda, Mark?
Yeah, 8,600 is a good start. Dividing that amount between two different platforms seems like it would just confuse issues, make it hard to manage. Maybe not. Maybe you're comfortable with it, and if you are, that's fine. But I prefer everything being in one place if possible, to keep it simple, keep statements coming in clean, be able to update, review, rebalance in a simple, easy manner. So if possible, with 8,600, maybe just go to the Timothy plan right now and launch your whole growth portfolio there. They have ETFs, they have mutual funds. You'll be able to do that very simply at Timothy plan and not have to pay a $2,500 minimum or have a $2,500 minimum to get into an individual mutual fund or ETF that like Fidelity's trying to do to everybody right now. So my position on it is, with that amount of money, I would be very comfortable with a full portfolio of ETFs. And you could go to Timothy plan and do that directly. If you're trying to get into the Israeli Common Values Fund, that's probably where that's coming from, or the defensive fund, then you can buy that there too as well. Buy into that at the Timothy plan as well without a minimum. So you could allocate more properly at the Timothy plan at this point. When that grows and continues to grow, you can transfer the whole thing over to your platform if you want to, so you can get into individual stocks. When you hit $50,000 or $70,000 or $100,000, you could start moving into the all asset type of asset allocation here at Financial Issues. And when you do that, by the way, because you transfer those assets in, you now can add to them without any minimum. Just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, I'm jumping into the weeds here a little bit, so I guess I'll ask for forgiveness as opposed to permission. So we have talked before about, if you can't get into the defensive fund or you don't want to for whatever reason, there is kind of a makeshift ETF equivalent that we have, Mark, and you can correct me if this is incorrect, but we've said before, you could put 15% into Fizz, that's the gold ETF. You could put 35% into TFIAX and then 35% into BIL and the remaining balance in a high interest money market account with Fidelity. Is there also an ETF equivalent, kind of makeshift equivalent for the Israeli fund, or is it better to just go to Timothy plan and look at some of those specific companies that are in the fund?
No, there isn't an equivalent out there that I can think of. The Timothy plan gives you all clean companies in Israel that are doing that they believe will do well for you. So you have to buy into that. But if you go to the Timothy plan platform, you're not losing anything but the possibility of not investing in individual stocks. And right now, on that amount of money, you're probably doing better by not investing in individual stocks, but in ETFs to get the diversification, and ETFs and mutual funds. So you can get your heart's desires there with their funds that are clean through the strictest of screening and that have great managers behind it for long-term investing, just like at Financial Issues.
Well said. Linda, it's a great question. Appreciate that. Mark, I'm going to skip down to a quicker question here. Lita from Virginia is asking, what's the latest review for CD26 and IN75?
Okay, well, let's take a look here. For CD26, the story continues to be one of steady positioning with its sector. It hasn't shown any signs of breaking down yet, but it also hasn't given any good reason to increase exposure. So I think this is where stewardship comes in on this one. If it fits your allocation model, you hold it. If it grows beyond that allocation, you trim it. But you don't chase it or abandon it based on short-term movement. Bottom line on that. On IN75, nothing has fundamentally changed. And this is why we always emphasize viewing each holding as a part of a complete portfolio, not in isolation. So really, bottom line on it is nothing's really changed. Hold positions, stewardship, just the difference between investing, day trading, or short-term investing and stewardship is stewardship says hold positions according to allocation discipline, as well as making sure they maintain their financial issues, steel and potential. Avoid emotional reactions to normal market fluctuations or news. Also, there's been no recent change at our analysis of these stocks. So I would say hold the course, and not really worry about it. You always can look for more to expand your allocations. There's no problem with that. But at this point, I'd say stay aligned with however we've rated them. And when we change that rating, you'll be the first to know. You'll be one of the first to know because we send out those alerts if it goes from a hold to a sell or from a buy to a hold or from a hold to a buy. You'll be the first to know. And when that happens, you could write us in again and ask us if you really should make any changes, and we'd be happy to answer that again there. But right now, be still. But don't be still with your dialing finger. The number here is 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110.
My wife and I help lead a Crossroads Kids Club, and one of the girls, she said, Mr. Dave, you keep talking about like you didn't really believe in Jesus and you were like dead or something, and then like you believed in Jesus and then you're like alive, and I want to receive that. And so we like just prayed there in our group to receive Jesus and owning this idea of life with Jesus for the first time.
Help reach kids with the hope of the gospel. Visit reachOurschools.com.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant. My family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She offered to get me an ultrasound. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep him.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
(610-363-1110). Folks, give us a call now and we'll get to you. Hope you'll be joining us for tomorrow's show. It'll be the usual Friday delight and then overtime afterwards. 610-363-1110. Mark, we've got Keith calling from Texas. Let's get to Keith.
Well, Keith, welcome to Financial Issues. What's on your mind, sir?
Today I'm thinking about the debt-equity ratio on stocks. I cannot find where you guys get that information.
The debt to equity ratio?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, shouldn't be too difficult. I think a lot of people just go out to some place like Google or Yahoo
True, Keith.
and go to the finance, look up that stock, and it should give you a DE ratio right there on the first page with it in most cases. But I think it was Seth and Sam behind the scenes mentioned, one of the things that a lot of people are using today is artificial intelligence, and it's free. Almost every platform has it built in. If you're using the Google interface, almost any site you go to, there's a little Gemini star you can click on and just say, hey, what's the debt to equity of this stock or that stock?
Exactly.
If you don't want to go out to these sites to make it real easy.
Yeah, Keith, I think this is one of those areas that you've heard us talk on the show probably before about how we need to be careful when we use AI.
In fact, I'm going to do that right now.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead and do that right now. While you're doing that, Keith, I'm just going to tell you, this is one of those times where AI can be really useful. So if, like Mark said, go on Google, or you can use Grok or Gemini or whichever one you choose. I would just say with that, and Mark, I think you would see this in the same way. Corroborate your information. So if you use one AI search engine, don't settle for that. Check it with another one, or maybe even a third one. And then if that doesn't get you your answer, you can also follow the links provided in those sources. If you'll put your question in, oftentimes the AI will spit back out links that go along with it where they get the answers from. You can follow those. You can also look at the company's website, the actual company. You can look at different financial websites. Sam, you had mentioned Google has kind of a financial interface that could be helpful too, Keith?
Yeah, that's right. I do like Google's financial interface, and it has AI that can interact with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I've been using Yahoo interface, and I couldn't find anything on Yahoo for some reason.
Okay.
Really? Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. I didn't know that Yahoo didn't show it.
Especially on the main page. I look at the main page and
Keith, have you tried just a simple Google search?
No, I hadn't.
Okay. Try that out.
The AI sounds interesting. I may be using that for more stuff now.
Yeah.
It's kind of it really has come into play a lot, and it is pretty good for most people to be able to use it. It's very simple. You just need to be very careful, and when if it's very important information, you really want to make sure that I challenge it often. I'll say, "Are you sure?" And then it'll come back and say, "Good catch" or something. But yeah, so here I just put in the current price to earnings ratio for AFL is generally in this range, 10 to 12 PE. So it just gave me a general range for it. But PE, it didn't answer my question on the debt to equity. I wonder if I put it in wrong. So I'm going to type in, what about DE? And see what it says here. And I think that most people are getting used to AI, but just remember, it's not your, it gave me the DE, the debt to equity of 0.25 to 0.35 debt to equity. So it gives you a good round. It gets you there. If you need the exact number.
Do I need that number?
Go ahead. No, if you need an exact number, you can go into it. It also just spewed out about 4 pages of what this all means. So
that's right. Hey, Keith, one more thing too. If you ever have a question about a specific one and you're just like, you know what, I can't find it on Yahoo, the AI is being confusing, just send us an email and we'd be happy to help you too. We've got access to
You'll probably be seeing it sometime. But I just went ahead and called anyhow. I got something else also. Yesterday I paid about $3.50 for gas down here in Texas, and I got to wondering about how has it been. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm from Texas. I got that.
I paid $4 this morning to fill up my truck a quarter tank, Keith. So I'm jealous, brother.
But the thing is, I got to looking, and about 1979 or so, it was about $145 a gallon. In the 1980s, it was about $150 a gallon. I didn't hear a whole lot of complaining back then.
I don't ever remember it being that high. Are you talking about a barrel of oil, or are you talking about a gallon of gas?
Barrel of oil.
Okay.
Barrel of oil.
Yeah.
Barrel of oil. The barrel of oil is they're hollering because it's $100 a barrel now, and it's now it had been 140, 150.
Yeah.
And
it's been crazy off and on throughout time. What we're living through right now is a time of media trying to destroy an administration that is conservative, that is God-based, and they want to destroy it and keep us from being one nation under God to being part of the whole secular one world order. That's the bottom line on it. Of course, they're going to make it out like the world's ending, the sky's falling, and your hair's on fire. It's just propaganda. We can live through this. I know it's going to hurt a lot of people, especially lower income, a little more than others. But pay it forward. Maybe if you're at the pump someday and you see an older car and maybe, you don't want to judge people, but if you think you want to, you could pay it forward by filling up that tank for that single mom or whatever. Anyway, thank you so much, Keith. Appreciate your call. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mark, why don't we get to Marcia? Marcia's calling from our home state of Pennsylvania here.
Hi, Marcia. Welcome to the Financial Issues. What's on your mind this morning?
First of all, I want to say thank you for your ministry because you really have blessed me, and just praise God for that. So I'm trying to figure out the difference between an ordinary dividend and a qualified dividend. So here's my question. Does an ordinary dividend become qualified when you own it 60 days before the ex-dividend rate? And to remain qualified for your tax statements, does that mean you don't buy it until the end of December, or don't buy anything?
No, qualified dividend just means that it has special tax implications to it. It's normally at a lower rate. That's the majority of stocks. They have qualified dividend. Some stocks don't because of the way the corporation is structured. Your 60-day thing is very important, though. Even if a stock is a qualified dividend, if you try to buy it like 2 days before the dividend is declared or the dividend is issued, you don't get it. So you have to own it within that prior to that 60-day corridor to be able to get the tax benefit of it. So the majority of your stocks are qualified dividends, and they get that tax reduction in the dividend. The rest, generally it's with things that are, like REITs and things like that. Some of them aren't. Okay, did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what causes a dividend to be qualified? What conditions?
Well, it's the way the corporation is structured, and really, I couldn't give you off the top of my head why or how. I'd have to dig deeper into that. So at this point, it usually seems like it's just certain types of stocks that lean more to look like partnerships or MLPs that have those kind of feel to them don't have the qualified dividends.
Marcia, I'm just seeing also with some of the specifics, some of the qualifications for having a qualified dividend, it has to be a U.S. domestic corporation.
That's true as well.
At least so that's just one of the things for it. But Mark, you hit it right on the head. I mean, it really is just based on more favorable tax treatment is really what separates it.
Yeah. So, and when you're looking up a stock, it should tell you that. It should tell you whether it's qualified or non-qualified. So, it shouldn't be a mystery, is what I'm trying to say. It's very easy. When I look up stocks, I can tell, or you could use, like we were talking about. You can look it up and just make sure it's qualified, just to make sure. So, and it does give you a lower tax bracket on those dividends,
which is always nice, right, Marcia?
Yeah.
No, that's great. Marcia, thanks so much for that call. Mark, I believe that was Marcia from our neck of the woods here. I've had the pleasure of speaking at Marcia and her husband, Pastor Dan's church before, so it was nice.
And most REITs, I'm just thinking through my head on this one, in history, most REITs aren't qualified. Obviously, foreign companies aren't if it's got to be a U.S. There are some actually that are. But preferred shares often aren't qualified as well. So,
yeah.
Based on that, I'd say that 80% of the stocks on the New York Stock Exchange are qualified, and you can find out by just looking them up. It usually says very clearly whether they are or not. I hope that was clear. I know it was a little bit misty, but it is the way the corporation is structured. And we want to answer your questions here, and obviously we've run out of time. We hope to see you tomorrow. God bless you for loving God and showing it in the way you invest with biblical integrity.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.
Everyone.